Good evening, America. This is your host, Steve Kaline, filling in for Brian. I'm telling the truth, Williams, on tonight's segment of NBC Nightly News. Tonight we'll discuss a man, a giant, and a revolutionary psychologist of the 20th century that you may or may have not have heard of. No, it's not Sigmund Freud. No, it's not John Watson. And no, it's not B.F. Skinner. The individual that we will focus on tonight is a man named Abraham Harold Maslow, one of the founding fathers of a fairly new sect of psychology called humanistic psychology. Now, the average American might ask, what is humanistic psychology and what is it all about? Earlier today, I was able to catch up with Abraham Maslow himself in Menlo Park, California, in attempts to answer this question. Take a look. We're here outside the Maslow household in Menlo Park, California. I was able to contact Mr. Maslow in advance of his exclusive interview a few weeks ago, confirming our appointment, so I can't wait to meet with the man himself. Let's go check it out.
Hello?
Hi, you must be Mrs. Maslow.
Oh yes, that's me.
How's it going? I'm Steve Kaline at NBC Nightly News. I'm here to see your husband for an interview.
Oh yes, let me grab aim for you. Hey, there's someone here to see you from NBC.
What is it, dear?
There's someone here to see you from NBC.
A man from BET?
No, NBC.
Oh, yes, for the interview.
Yes,
I'll be right down.
he'll be right down.
Awesome, thank you so much. You have such a nice house here, Mrs. Maslow.
Oh, thank you.
Great.
It's quite delightful. We just moved in here after Abe stopped working at Brandy University.
Very good, very good.
Well, why don't you guys come inside? We'll bring Abe down for you. Oh,
All right.
Hello,
Oh.
Steve.
Oh, very nice to meet you, Ed. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad.
You know, Steve, it's such a beautiful day out. I was thinking we could have this interview on the porch. You think that'd be okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
All right, let's check it out. So, Mr. Maslow, before I dive into a few quick questions, I'd like to start off with our viewers getting to know a little bit about you and, just get a little snapshot of what you're all about. You can share as little or as much as you want, but with that said, who is Abraham Maslow?
Well, Steve, I'm glad you asked. Not many people are often interested in hearing about my life story or passions outside of psychology,
However,
but I'd be happy to share them. I guess to start off with, I was born in 1908 in Brooklyn, New York. My parents Samuel and Rose Maslow, right after they had gotten off the boat into America. My family is of Jewish and Russian heritage, so growing up on the streets of New York was no easy task for my 6 siblings and I. Being the only Jewish boy in the neighborhood, I had trouble making friends, and usually spent my days in the library reading books. My relationship with my parents, as a matter of fact, was not too much better. By the time I was 17, I had grown up and was ready to move out and go to the City College of New York. I was going to study psychology, and that's how it all began.
wow, seems like you've come a long way from such humble beginnings, Mr. Maslow. So I've heard that you were one of the first psychologists to ever explore the field of humanistic psychology. Do you mind explaining what that is and what type of work you do for that subject matter?
Why, yes, I can. You see, Steve, humanistic psychology is not all too complicated as one might think. Humanistic psychology is simply the study of conscious experience and the wholeness of human nature. By observing these two factors in human life, one can see how a person develops and satisfies their individual needs throughout their entire time here on Earth. Regarding my past work, I have a theory on what these individual life needs are for, and what humans, as well as what order they rank in as importance. To start, my hierarchy of needs consists of 5 levels that humans strive to make their way up to the top to become fully satisfied with their lives. The first and foremost is the basic need that all humans must satisfy. The physiological needs, which include food, water, and sex. Obviously, all of these needs are essential for survival and reproduction, but nonetheless important and should be noted. After a person satisfies their physiological needs, then the person will then move on to fulfill their safety needs, such as security of themselves and of loved ones. Order and stability are also included within this category, as one must feel safe and intact within their own environments. whether they're providing security for themselves or for another human being. Once this need for safety is satisfied, then the individual proceeds to belongingness and love. The stage where the person will seek out relationships with other people, whether it be intimate or friendship. And last but not least, there is need for self-actualization, which is by far the toughest level to achieve in my hierarchy. In order to satisfy self-actualization, one is considered to be psychologically healthy, and they usually exhibit specific positive traits that set them apart from the rest of the population. These traits include being creative, being able to resist high levels of conformity, having a need for autonomy, privacy, independence, and the list goes on and on.
Quite interesting.
Yes.
So you mentioned that only a small amount of people ever make it to the self-actualization stage. Do you have like a ballpark estimate or any statistics that can give our viewers an idea of how many people fall into this category?
Certainly. According to my past experimental results, I predict that less than 1% of the population fits into the category of self-actualization. So in layman's terms, less than 1% of the population experiences the full development of their own abilities and realizes the limit of their own potential. Also, I found a tendency in which I find quite interesting in people who are self-actualized, in that almost all of these people were middle-aged or older and were free of neurosis. After analyzing the biographies of Albert Einstein, Eleanor Roosevelt, George Washington Carver, Max Wertheimer, I had to have reason to believe that these individuals fall into that category of self-actualization. To give you an example of what type of individuals that a self-actualizer might be, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it for sure did. And Mr. Maslow, it sounds like you've been a part of the field of psychology for a long time. Were there any people that you looked up to or were encouraged by for you to pursue psychology as a lifelong passion?
Oh, absolutely. I had the privilege of meeting Alfred Adler, Karen Horney, Kurt Kafka, Ruth Benedict, and Max Wertheimer during my lifetime, in which they made me realize that a purely behavioristic approach is too limiting to be relevant in solving problems in human nature. I say this because when I was a young man and first got out of college with my PhD from the University of Wisconsin, I was so convinced by John B. Watson's School of Behaviorism that I thought the mechanistic natural science approach provided all the answers to the world's problems, and that's not to say that I was far from the truth. Going back to my past influences, however, I would consider Gestalt psychologist Max Wertheimer and anthropologist Ruth Benedict as my two primary influences that were going to be seen in all of the work that I've done up to this point. These two really served as my inspiration for the first study that I performed out of school regarding the characteristics of psychologically healthy, self-actualizing persons, which has been the primary research of my career.
Ah, I see, Mr. Maslow. If you don't mind me asking, I've heard from a few people that you were once a student of E.B. Titchener. Is that true?
Yes, I was a very, very long time ago. After I decided to leave the city of New York, I went to enroll at Cornell University and happened to take my first introductory psychology course with Mr. Titchener. I hate to say it, but at the time I thought his theory was of scientific I hate to say it, but at the time I thought that Titchener's theory of scientific introspection that he was teaching to us as students was completely garbage, and I even considered changing my interest of study. I thought the course in general was awful and bloodless and had nothing to do with people. So that made me shift my attention away from structuralism and explore the new field of human psychology that was starting to blossom. You see, I was only at Cornell for a very short time until I decided to transfer to the University of Wisconsin to pursue my graduate and doctorate studies. Mr. Titchener did not have a profound effect on my studies or work. If anything else, he was able to show me what I did not want to study and what I can be somewhat thankful for.
Oh man, didn't mean to bring up any bad memories for you, but just thought I'd ask. Well, Abe, I hate to cut you short, but I'm afraid that we've run out of time. Thanks again for the interview.
It was my pleasure, Steve. Good luck.
Thank you. And one more thing before I go, can I tell you a quick joke?
Go ahead.
You know what the difference is between a loan and a psychologist?
I have no clue.
A loan eventually matures and makes money. Ha! Get it because you're a psychologist and you live in Norwood?
You son of a... Oh, my heart!
Here's a scene 4.
As you can all see, Mr. Abraham Maslow was an intelligible and dedicated man within the field of psychology that will always be remembered for his remarkable research and theory contributions that he was able to offer to humanistic psychology. During his nearly 30-year teaching career at Brooklyn College and Brandeis University, he was able to influence many of his students to work in positive and humanistic psychology, shifting the academic zeitgeist of the mid-20th century. Maslow was even elected as the president of the APA in 1966, which goes on to show how well he was respected and loved within his own profession. Unfortunately, Mr. Maslow's life came to an end all too soon on July 8th, 1966, after suffering a heart attack while jogging. Although multiple news reports have denied this claim, saying that he was in a mad pursuit of one of NBC's finest reporters after acting in retaliation to an offensive joke, this remains to be the mystery to the present age. To look more into this story, be sure to tune into NBC's Dateline tomorrow night to hear the real story about Abraham Maslow's death. Again, thank you all for joining us on NBC Nightly News. I'm Steve Kaline, and so long from New York.